Hi. Well, to me, it's the nature of logging that sometimes the production quality is actually too low to consume the video, let's say. And the volume was really low, and some people have loud volumes on their computers and could hear me anyway, but some couldn't. So, luckily, this was a video I took a few notes. I put down a few notes before just to hit the things I wanted to hit, so I can do this video again. It's also clear to me from discussing with Beethoven that I do need to emphasize most of my arguments against objectivism are small o objectivism, the kind of objectivism that you argue about in philosophy. This is thousands of years older than Ayn Rand, so she doesn't really define all the terms. My impression is sometimes she's trying to gain exactly what the traditional objectivists wanted to gain, but she doesn't really follow all the terms to their logical conclusions or make sure they piece together quite as well as traditional objectivists. But that might be a good thing in the sense that they were pursuing a false philosophy, right? But anyway, I mean, it's worth mentioning that. And right now I'm talking to objectivists, so I want to make that clear, because if you want to distinguish yourself from the concepts of traditional objectivism, then you ought to know that there is this distinction. So, okay, first of all, I was saying that I'm not confused about the terms. I understand these terms. It's an ancient debate, and I do understand the terms. And, I was saying, this isn't in my notes, but I remember I mentioned right before I made that video, I was going through some stuff in my office, some old boxes. I found an old paper from 20 years ago where I was arguing about a skeptical language and about objectivism with no reference to Rand at all. I wasn't taking Rand into account at all. So, I could be wrong, but I'm not confused on how these terms fit together. I may be somewhat confused about Rand's use of those terms, but, I'm not going to see that. I think, as I said, that Rand might be using those terms in a confused way. But I acknowledge that possibility there, that Rand had, she did seem to redefine these terms a lot. So, I'm interested in that, in knowing how she defined them and why you think they fit together. But usually when people are telling me that, it's because, from my point of view, it seems at least, that they don't really understand the implications of where these things go. They don't understand, like, believing in self-evident truths means that you are not an empiricist, that you believe in that there's possible to get knowledge just out of thin air. Which to me is like saying, when people are challenged about their theism, well, who created God? God so coolly created himself. It's like, well, who created this knowledge? It's so cool it created itself. That's how it comes across to me. But I wanted to back up and tell you, how I approach this problem, because I take a structural view. We are trying to structure our knowledge of nature. That's what an epistemology is. And you structure it and you build a whole system. You compare that whole system with another system. And as I build my system, there's incompatibilities with Rand and other small o objectivists, early on. So I'm describing really that first deviation that we have. So we're structuring our knowledge. What do we start from? We start from our subjective perceptions, right? Can we agree on that? And I'm assuming probably not. Probably many of you, traditionally objectivists, think we start from absolute analytic truths of some sort. Okay? That's why they say our knowledge is coming from reason, because then they can say it's coming from these self-evident truths rather than the perception. Okay? So, what analytic truths are those? Perhaps it's your favorite mathematical statement. Or perhaps it's the principle of non-contradiction. Or perhaps it's the law of cause and effect, and so on. Now, if you don't think those come, if you do think those come from the ether, or self-caused, or something like this, rather than perception, then we already differ fundamentally. Okay. because to me, all those fine principles come from experience. And people are like, oh, you don't believe in axioms, so you don't believe in logic? You don't believe in cause and effect, so you think things just happen willy-nilly? It's like, no, I love those. I'm a huge fan of those truths. I'm a huge fan of the law of gravitation. I'm a huge fan of quantum mechanics. I just don't think they are self-caused or come from the ether. Okay, I have to stop.